Okay, we're recording. All right, welcome back, everyone. Good to see everybody, as always. And I'm going to get us started by getting into the superpower state. So just close your eyes and allow yourself to settle into your superpower state, that unconditional love feeling. However you normally do that, whether you're focusing on a word or phrase or your subject, and notice where you're feeling that feeling in your body. And as you're breathing in, breathing out, allowing that feeling to grow. Imagining that feeling as a ball of light or energy. And imagine sending that feeling to the top of your head, down to the bottom of your feet, out to your fingertips. Feeling that feeling that feeling throughout your entire body. Noticing if there's a color associated with that feeling today. Notice whatever color that might be. And as you're breathing in, allowing that feeling to expand, allowing yourself to be surrounded by a ball of that light, that energy, that beautiful shimmering color. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, sending that beautiful light, that color, that energy to every cell in your body. Imagining each cell of your body surrounded by that same energy, that same light, that same color. And now, however you do it in your mind's eye, sending that light, that energy, that color to each and every person on the call. Sending that light, that energy to all issues, all circumstances, loving it all just the way it is. All right, very good. And you can open your eyes if you've had them closed. And we will begin. And again, for those just joining or those on the recording, just another reminder, or just to let you know that Odille will be back with us again on the next session. We've had a scheduling conflict and she will be back, but I am here today and we're going to go jumping in and checking in with each person. And I also have a couple of things that I'm going to be sharing, and we'll get to those in just a bit. But let me check in with Katrina. You're on my screen first. So it's always amazing to me how I can look at somebody's name on the screen and not see it. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can,
Yeah,
yes.
and I can hear you. So how are things, Katrina?
Yes, things are good. Yes, why not? Yes.
Very good. Well, have a nice day then.
Well, you too. Oh,
What can we jump into?
God. What can we jump into? DDD. Um, a memory that I think I haven't healed completely,
Okay.
which is all my life. I have felt or made to feel inferior to others, and this has led back to just before I done 11 plus. My mother referred to me as being stupid. So, yes, Steve.
Very good. Can I just share? We had a couple of minutes before we went live, and or we went on the recording, and I just wanted to mention, or that you had mentioned, that that you were kind of reminded of this by looking back at some of the earlier sessions, some of the work that you had done earlier. So I know that the um, this particular issue, this particular memory, is something that, quote, you've worked on before, right?
I I think so, but I haven't went back. Obviously, I haven't done the homework very well.
No, and I just wanted to, yeah, and I think that recognizing that, what homework was it that you feel like you didn't do?
um, because I probably still feel inferior, so that's how I know.
Okay, and do you remember? I know when when Odille was doing that work with you, um, that as you were kind of going through and working on that memory of your mother and what she was saying to you in that scene. So what was it that you what is it that you were going to be doing, or you were supposed to be doing, that homework that you feel like you didn't do?
It's that I was asking for help with the homework, and she couldn't help, and then she referred, to the rest of the
Ah,
cousins.
okay, yeah, and I see what we're doing. We're talking about two different things here. And I guess I'm just wanting to lead you. I was wanting to get to the point of uh, the due justice letter, writing a due justice letter to your mother. That feeling that was there, the what the feeling that was generated around the um, hearing, that little you hearing that she, your mother ended up with the stupid one. So I guess the question is, I'm kind of bringing this up because the resistance around doing a due justice letter is something that I think is a natural thing, and certainly something that I had to deal with myself. And I know that initially when I was starting to do this work, um, with the due justice letter, writing a due justice letter, I know that I put it off myself. Writing a due, and at that point I was doing some work around my father, but I had put it off for like 3 months, writing this letter, because I don't know, I would come up with all kinds of reasons or excuses. And I guess that I'm just kind of saying this out loud, or reminding, or um, offering that as an example that it's a really natural thing to have that resistance around doing that, and the importance of doing it. Or when you allow yourself to do that, you're giving voice to that bit of you, that feeling that has been held back there, it's been repressed, or it's been denied, or whatever that is. So um, this may be another good opportunity for you to kind of go back and take a look at the feeling that's there. So when you were there and you went back and you saw the earlier, you saw that earlier episode, or you're aware that there's more feeling there that still needs to be worked on. Can you start in the place of allowing that to be there first? So when you think about it, uh, and again, we're going to use words. We're going to use words to kind of describe whatever the feeling is that's there. But what feeling is coming to mind when you think about that? Oops, oops, oops. Looks like somehow we've gotten you muted. There we go.
Yeah, it's somehow the words. I have to describe it as a word. The sensation
That's
is.
okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, yeah.
I'm super. If I have to go back to it, I'm super annoyed that. Well, there's two parts going on here. It's like, this is silly, this is ridiculous. That's not true. There's a conflict thing now going on with me, as in, stop your nonsense. Stop it.
Good, good. So stop your nonsense. Again, the starting point, each and every moment, anything that's arising is that starting point is, can you allow it to be there? Can you allow that, whatever that feeling is right now? So if you can just take a moment and see if you can be with that feeling. Stop your nonsense.
No, but this is the adult me saying it to Katrina. It's not my mother saying it.
And that's okay. Can you just be with the feeling of that? Because there's a feeling associated here.
Okay.
So stop your nonsense. That's a word. That's an emotion. There's something there. Now see if you can just drop down, and how am I experiencing that feeling inside? So this is something that everybody can be following along with. It's just noticing that the words and the story that I'm creating is different than the feeling that's being created around that, because the feelings don't really have words. They can only be felt. So can you drop into where are you experiencing that? Notice how you're experiencing in your body. And again, that may be difficult to describe because you're trying to express or describe what is, but can you just be with it? And you don't have to worry about trying to describe it to me or to the rest of us. Can you just be with the feeling of whatever's going on in your body when you think about that?
Yeah, well, I'm feeling her sadness and her annoyance and being alone with it.
Good. So can you allow that to be there right now? Can you see that? Take it, kind of take a step back in your mind and allow that feeling to be there right now. That sadness, that aloneness. And as you're doing that, just a reminder to yourself, a reminder to your conscious mind that this is just a sensation in your body right now. And Odille's little reminder, or a little technique of putting your hand on your lap, or you know, touching your hand or something, is just a physical sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's going on right now is just a physical sensation in your body. And just allowing that to be there. It's okay for that to be there. Imagining, if you can, imagining that feeling, that sadness, whatever is there, just imagining it as a little entity in front of you, a small child or a little entity or whatever, however that's being expressed in your mind, however you can be with that in your mind, whether it's a knowing or a vision or whatever, it doesn't matter. Can you just allow it to be there and give it some space?
It's coming across us it's very heavy. Or she's very heavy or something.
Good, good. So just be with the heavy. Just allow that heavy to be there. It doesn't have to change. It doesn't have to go anywhere. Notice if it has a color or a texture. Notice if there's anything about it. Just notice how you're experiencing it, how you're feeling it, allowing it to be there, and beginning to have that kind of a relationship with it. And this is where the allowing technique can begin to feel a little bit weird, or as you're starting to do this, it feels a little bit strange. But if you want, and I'm not suggesting to do it right now, but in your mind, you can be thinking, you can either do it out loud, you can say, and sometimes I will do this, I'll catch myself in that feeling and I'm like, oh, hello, shame. I know that may, or even if you're just hearing it in your mind, hello, sadness, I see you here. It's like, you can be here. You get to have space right now. So just imagining having that relationship, having that conversation. And if you could speak to that little entity, that feeling, whatever's there, that heaviness that's there right now, just imagining giving it some hospitality. Is there anything, ask it if there's anything that you might be able to do for it right now that might help it feel just a little bit better in the moment without expecting any kind of an answer.
It's like I can't help her because I'm too wrapped up in her.
Okay, good. You can't help her because
she needs my help, but I can't help her.
Good, good. So
she's overpowering the other. Yeah.
Okay. So do this in your mind right now. Take a step back. Allow yourself to take a step back, and you can also use the superpower right now. So take a moment and allow yourself to step back and see if you can find that superpower feeling again. So this is just a reminder. So as you're doing the allowing technique, it's also practicing taking that step back out into kind of third person observer mode. You're observing. Can you observe the you that's having this feeling right now? Can you be the observer looking at this little entity, this little feeling right now? So you're just stepping back, find that superpower feeling, however you do that right now, that unconditional love feeling.
Okay.
Good. And one technique that I use is I allow myself to feel that sense of expansion. Can you imagine yourself growing? Can you allow yourself to be 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet tall right now? Can you find that feeling of being above it all right now?
Yes, I'll go taller, not wider.
Very good. Good. And from that place of being tall, can you look down and can you find that entity, that little entity down there, or that Katrina that is feeling that sense of being overwhelmed by it right now? Can you look down and find that?
Okay.
Good. And then however in your mind's eye, can you just send love to that little entity? Can you send love to that you that's feeling that feeling right now?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
good. And now just kind of stepping in and out of that, or just pause and step back and just be with that feeling, that heavy that's there, that little you that's feeling those feelings, and what's there as you come back to that. how does it feel to be with that heavy?
It's still heavy, but it's 50% less heavy. It's not as heavy.
Good. And again, just kind of be with it. So you're practicing being in that place of, I can be with the feeling, but I've got one foot in that state of being tall, that state of being the third person observer of what's happening. And I can just be with that feeling. Ask it again if there's anything that you can do for it that would help it feel a little bit better. Or if there was anything that it needed to tell you or say, or just be with whatever's going on there and what's happening.
It's something like it. Yes, probably going back to the justice letter, in that I would like to express, how I'm feeling or how you've made me feel. She probably didn't realize that I didn't, it has been so, what's that word, detrimental?
Mm-hmm. Good, good, good. So can you, in your mind right now, make that commitment to that little heavy, that little you, whatever's there, and commit to her and say, we will write that letter tonight, or whenever it feels appropriate. We will do that. We will do this work together. I will help.
Yeah.
Say it again.
She says brilliant, yes.
Good. Good. And then notice the feeling. What's it feel like to be with that little entity, what that heavy, whatever's there? If it had an expression, or if you could imagine what it is feeling, what would it be feeling? What's its expression?
It's probably just weighed down with years and years of sadness of it all.
Good. In your mind, can you imagine giving that little entity or that little you, whatever it is, can you imagine giving it a hug right now?
Yes.
Good. And just notice what's happening as you do that. How does that feel when you do that?
Just probably feeling sort of reassured. I need
Okay.
more of this, but this is good.
Good, good. So let her know, let it know, whatever that is, let it know that you're not going to go anywhere. It doesn't
Oh.
have to go anywhere. You're not going to chase it off. You're not going to deny it. It can have space here. Good. And now ask it if there's anything, like if there's anything that it's wanting to bring up from the past. Is there any other memory? Is there any other link that is there that it feels like it needs to express? Is there any other memories that are popping up around this? And it's okay if there's not.
But I think this one is, it's the tree trunk. It's holding the rest in place.
It very well could
so once
be.
I get this one.
It very well could be, but just be aware, and I know that we're doing this kind of as a demonstration, but just be aware that these kind of answers may also come with time. So as you're as you're doing this practice, don't see it as a kind of a one and done type of thing. See it as a relationship that you're developing with this particular feeling. So we're doing it right now, which it feels a little bit contrived perhaps, but if you can imagine all right, now I've got this ongoing relationship. Let me check in. So it's like after this session tomorrow morning, let me check in with that feeling. What's still there? Is there more that you need to tell me? So I know that that as we do these in demonstration like this, it's easy to see it as like, oh, well, okay, check, got that done. But if you see it as a relationship, and you can begin to see it as you're peeling away the layers of the onion, allow that relationship, allow that feeling to continue to express. There may be more there that needs to come up. You may have a light bulb moment, tomorrow, later in the day, next week, where it's like, oh, that's what it's trying to tell me. So just be aware that you're beginning that process. And I would again encourage you to keep your commitment now with the little you, and, and do that due justice letter with her.
Yes, will do, Steve. Yes.
Good. How's all of that resonating? How's that feel?
It feels, yeah, I'm actually feeling lighter, and I'm looking forward to this. This was needed. This is excellent.
Good. Very good. Well, thanks for being vulnerable, and thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that will help a lot of other folks too. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
All right, and Lisa. And give me a second. All right.
Okay.
There we go.
Yay. Feel Good Friday. Yay.
Yay. I'm feeling good.
Yay. So I had an issue getting on. It was really weird. So it was really slow all morning. Did you guys have that too, or no?
No. I've had it some days, but yeah.
Yeah, and I signed on early too. That was weird. But anyway, I used a different computer, so it worked good. So this is from the book Reprogram Your Subconscious Mind for Business Success. So I was using the allowing technique for sometimes I take on other people's stuff. And so yesterday a friend of mine came over, and he has a neuropathy because he's diabetic, and I started feeling it all over my body, like, whoa, like a frying pan and all that stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. So what I did was the allowing technique, and I put it in front of me, and then in my energy centers, all the way up, I did different colors, and I did hearts, and it made a huge difference not to take on other people's stuff. So I was like, wow, that's another tool to use for that. So I had found these questions, so I really like them. This is on page 70. There's a bunch of different questions, but also it has to do, so I stumbled on this, and I was like, this is what you ask if you have stumble on something. So it was like, who else do I know had this problem or something similar or similar feelings when I was a child? So I was like, I wonder who I picked up. I'm trying to figure that out. I was like, I wonder who I picked that up on that would be so sensitive that they're taking on other people's stuff. So that was a question I asked myself. So instead I put it out there because I couldn't figure it out. So I put it in front of me, and I was like, that's how I did it with the love energy. So it worked out good. So then if this problem was a person, who would it be? So that it has different things, like it would be my mother, like, for example, it had something like was never there for me. This is like an example in here or something, or forgetting to pick me up from school or something, or angry with me. That was just an example in that book. So then let's see, who else do I know have this problem? And then there's other people that you can layer, I guess. Like there's other people that you don't think of that come up, And so so the note was, and it says, being told about something is relevant as a memory of something you experienced personally. Bearing in mind your subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. It can create memories that seem real just from something you heard about, and you can change them memory or the picture itself. So, and the memory being told about. So I thought that was very good. So
Awesome. Awesome. So let's just take a quick look at that, um, that empathetic trait that you have. But because I think that that's a common one that a lot of people share, you know, that we, those of us that grew up in families with, you know, trauma, drama, whatever, it becomes a coping skill for us, you know. So some children in family situations like that will develop other coping techniques, but I know that uh, that one of my coping techniques was also to develop that sense of being empathetic. It's a way for us to, if I can take on the feelings of everybody else that's going on around me, it's a way for me to kind of control what's going on in my world. It's like, oh, this person's feeling this over here, so what can I do to make this, so it's kind of that feeling like I'm taking on everybody else's feelings so I can kind of control my world somehow. So it's a coping technique that and I think that we can end up developing that, and it certainly feels like I'm taking on everybody else's feelings. I can that I'm feeling exactly what they're feeling, and that's not really what's going on, but that's what's going on inside. So using that little quote that you led with there, who does that remind you of in your past? Is there somebody that you grew up watching do that type of thing? Was that their coping technique for the world? Does anybody come to mind? Is that anything there when you think about that?
My first thought was my mom, I think. Like, so like she was very silent. She was silent Bob. She was, she didn't say much. She was like, okay. But you could tell like there's a lot going on, you know, kind of thing. But I was like, I don't know. I kind of spoke for her in a lot of ways. So, because just like, you know, I would stand up for her and whatever, you know. So, so but then I noticed that later on, I started taking on other people's illnesses and stuff, and then I had to really surround myself with like my little bubble, you know, so I wouldn't, because it was weird.
So the that what's the feeling that's there when do you feel like that is still an issue for you now, that taking on other people's pain? Obviously you did when the other person was there recently, but do you feel like that is still a real common pattern for you?
Not as much, but I have this thing in the back of my head. It's like, I can help you, you know, because I do that for my son all the time. So my yeah, that's a biggie. So since he is severely autistic, it's like I have another person of me, if that makes sense.
So that I can take care of you feeling.
Yeah.
So that would be a good place for you to start using the allowing technique.
Yeah.
So can you be with that feeling right now? And you know, we've been through this process, and I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to put you necessarily on the spot to do that, but just, can you be with that feeling to know what that feeling feels like inside? Again, dropping away from the words, but just being with the feeling. Do you have a knowing of what that I can help you feeling feels like?
Because yes, and another thing too I thought of was my I always tend to have to protect my son all the time, because there's a lot of people that are super bullies when it comes to and because so I've had to do that for, he's 36 years old, so I've had to do that a lot.
So I would recommend starting with that feeling and allowing it to be there. And my guess is, as you're allowing it to be there, find first where you remember that earliest in your childhood, that feeling of, I can take care of you, I can help you. So, I know for myself, in going back in looking for those references, I was the oldest of 5 children, and my mother had, 5 children. She had 4 children relatively quickly. She had 4 children in 5 years or something like that. It was crazy how, and I think she nearly drove herself crazy. I mean, she had a bit of an emotional breakdown, and as that was happening, that little 5-year-old me or 6-year-old me or whatever was trying to take care of her, and didn't really have all of the skills that I needed to be able to do that. So going back and figuring out what those references are from your childhood, your past, where did that little you learn that she needed to take care of whatever was going on? And for those of us that are older children, or that we have younger siblings, whatever, that we've had to take care of, those are patterns or imprints that get started early in life. So I hope that some of that resonates, and see if you can kind of walk it back, but you begin with that allowing technique first, and allow it to speak, and to see if there's something there for you as you work with that.
Yeah, by talking about my son, that really, like, wow, I didn't even think of that, because I'm so used to doing that automatically, taking care of him. So I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much it,
Right. And my guess is that, those patterns that are there now in your life were also patterns that were there early in your life as well. It may not have looked the same way earlier in your life, but our subconsciously, we're continuing to try to recreate that homeostasis feeling of whatever was there in our childhood, and we subconsciously keep trying to create or attract those kind of things into our life so that we can continue those same feelings. So whatever got started in childhood, we continue to keep trying to perpetuate. So take it back. So the stuff that's going on right now with your friend, with the neuropathy, all of that, see if you can walk it back and find that little you that is trying to be the helper, trying to desperately to, or whatever, trying to fix the situation.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Does that help? All right.
Oh, yeah. That was good. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for sharing that too, Lisa.
Sure,
I appreciate
sure.
that. And Swasti, good day. Oops, give me a second. Oh, thank you. maybe by next week I'll figure this out. How are things?
Yeah, I've just been listening, and your technique is so beautifully crafted. Like, it makes so much sense. It's really, really good. Learning a lot.
Good.
But I had a question. So,
yeah.
like, whenever I try change references from my mum's side of the family, it's very difficult. So I think it might just be due justice letter, but I don't know where to start from, because there's a lot. Like, whenever I try to change it, I basically can't change it, and then I just forget about it, and then I come back and I say, oh no. So I just need a starting point for that.
Okay. So what is it when you think about it? When you think about that situation, what's there, or what is it that you feel like is the issue? You're having difficulty changing your mom's side of the family?
Yeah, it's just, so whenever I try, it's always her mum. So because I try and go backwards, because I think that's where the issue is. But then if I try and make her do something like just respect her children, even, it doesn't happen.
Yep. So have you done a due justice letter for your mother?
No, I think I've done a lot from my mum's perspective to her mum, not from my perspective to my mum.
Okay, so that would be the starting point. So clearing whatever is there for that you know, whatever that little you is holding regarding your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
if you haven't done that yet, do that as do that as as a beginning. Start with
Mm-hmm.
whatever that feeling is, allowing that little you to get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be important. And if you've already done the work of writing a due justice letter from the vantage point or the viewpoint of your mother to her mother,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you've done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But I would recommend always start and allow the little you to
Mm-hmm.
get out whatever's there.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you had to take just a moment and imagine the little you in front of you, whatever age you feel like needs to be expressing something. Can you find her?
Yeah, it's actually two. It's like obviously when they left, and then for some reason it's like when we came here.
Mm-hmm. And I would recommend allowing the youngest one of those two images to start writing. Now it may be, and I know that as I've done due justice letters, it seems like different versions of myself will
Yeah.
sometimes take over the pen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but allow the youngest one of you to begin that writing, and imagine you as the adult you now sitting with her and just encouraging her to keep getting it out.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay.
Letting her know that she's safe and that, you know, it's important for her to get it all out and that she can't get in trouble for saying what she needs to say. So you're providing that. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat here, and it's like, yes, that kind of puts words to what you're doing. You're providing a safe environment for that little you to express what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. So if you haven't done that already, then we'll do that. And I want to bring something else into this right now, which I think, you know, dovetails really nicely with what we're talking about here. And this is actually from Ilja. Ilja, I'm going to go ahead and read this out, and then I may ask you to jump in if you have any other words that you want to add to this. But Ilja sent this, and I think it's a great embellishment on what we've been doing here. Hi, Odille and Steve. I wanted to share a new technique that I call the copy and paste technique, which I've been using for a few months now. I spent a lot of time changing my parents' and my grandparents' childhoods, but it still happens that there are memories that are harder to change. So instead of going back to my parents' childhood, which in general feels good, I sort of use a shortcut. I imagine that the same thing from my memory happened to my parents, or one of them, or whoever's involved in that memory that I can't seem to change. I copy and paste it exactly, and then let my grandparents or whoever is taking care of those people's younger versions respond in a loving and a compassionate way. Not only will that give my parents more understanding and empathy toward me and my memory, because they know how it feels for themselves, but they also have the exact reference for how to respond in this situation towards me because their parents taught them. Instead of thinking of their childhood in general, this gives me exact references I need to change a memory, and it saves time. The reverse applies as well with this copy and paste technique. So when I change a memory to the opposite and positive, or I create a memory from scratch in my childhood, I copy and paste this good memory exactly as it is in their childhood. This is such an easy way of enriching their childhood as well, and you don't have to spend time to create something, just copy and paste. So I think that is,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's really amazing. And Ilja, I don't know if there's more that you would like to say about that, or is anything that if you,
Hi.
yeah, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, you
that,
may.
that
Well, I don't know. You see, for me, it's clear because I use it myself. So, but I don't know if someone else, if I need to give like an example or something.
Yeah, if you have just one quick little example of how you're using it, I think that would be great. I kind of get what you're doing, but yeah, if you have a real life example of how you use that, that would be awesome.
Well, no, but I can create something.
Okay,
So
good.
if so, say for example, you have been you have something happened to you and you feel really bad about it and you've been embarrassed or you feel ashamed, and instead of your parents being very loving and kind and creating a safe space for you, they make fun of you. Or they do not take you seriously, or they just just wave it off as if it's not something important, but it is apparently to you. So when that happens and I cannot seem to change my parents in that example, and they keep laughing at me or they keep giving me this cold reaction and I don't want it, instead of going back to their childhood in general, I just copy and paste this exact memory into their childhood, imagining that something happened to them where they feel ashamed of or embarrassed, and then let my grandparents give like a very loving and nurturing and comforting reaction to them. So, and if that's not possible, just go a generation further, just do it with your grandparents. So, and then when you've changed that, when you've done that in their childhood, come back to your memory. And most of the times then my parents feel much more loving and compassionate because they know how it feels. And then, so that creates, to me, that's often very important, that they understand how I feel. And that gives the exact reference that they now know in this situation how to respond. So it's a shortcut. You don't have to imagine, well, how would it, of course, change their childhoods, but this is just a shortcut. You need something specific to change a certain memory, and that's why I do this copy paste. Do it exactly what happens to me, it happened to them, and then you have all the reference you need to change this memory. And do it with a positive thing as well. If you have a positive memory, you change something to the opposite and positive, or you create something from scratch in your childhood. Just copy and paste that exact memory into their childhoods. You don't have to create something new. Just copy and paste all the scenery, all the feelings. You just have to change your parents into little ones and put in your grandparents or whoever is involved.
Yeah.
And that way you can enrich their childhoods as well. So yeah, I just do copy and paste.
I think it's great. I love the title of it. So, this will be, when we add this, to the canon of everything that we're doing, it's going to be the Ilja copy and paste technique.
Yeah, but because it often, yeah, well, oftentimes I know in the past, and I talked about it yesterday as well, I was someone who followed rules and protocols, and I would stick with a technique that, and I would do it over and over again because it worked for other people, but apparently it didn't work for me in that same way. So this is just another way of being creative with
Absolutely.
a technique, and maybe maybe someone will benefit from it.
No, absolutely. And I think that, seeing, in my mind, as you're talking about this, as you've described it in the email that you sent, I sort of saw this this image of a hall of mirrors, that thing where, you look into a mirror that's reflecting back at a mirror and you just see this reflection going back for infinity. So it's like the copy and paste technique. It's like, oh, I come from a long line of people who know exactly the same feeling, the same memory. So it's really another way to add that knowing to your subconscious mind. I come from a long line of people who blank, and you get to add you just hit copy and paste and zoom, send it back to the past, or however you want to do that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's well, I don't have that problem usually, but for some people it's more difficult to be creative and come up with new stuff. So if you have something really good in your childhood, you change it or you create it from scratch, just put it in someone else's childhood as well, and you just boom, you created new good memories
Yes,
for someone else.
absolutely. I think it's awesome. So thanks so much for sharing that. Hopefully that helps.
If there are questions, just ask.
Yeah, please do, and put them in the chat, and we'll take those. But hopefully that also helps Swasti as you're moving forward with working on those memories as well. So thanks, Ilja, for that. Thanks for sharing that. And let's move to Sadia. If I can find, there we go. Ask unmute. There we go.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Hey, Sadia.
Feels great to be here.
Yay, glad to have you.
Yeah, I decided to jump and to express my gratitude because I'm so thankful to know about the Ramert method in the superpower state, because days ago I came here in the call and I say like, Odille, and say like it was very difficult for me to bring down the stress chemicals each time I would think of getting in the plane. So yesterday I was flying and it was an opportunity actually to really, I would say, to experience the superpower state when you do not want a feeling. So it went, I would not say fantastic, but really it was a great experience, because each time even when I was triggered, I was like, okay, I'm just going to love the fact that I can't bring down the stress chemicals. I'm going to send unconditional love to that feeling no matter what. And I kept playing with that, playing with the subconscious and imagination. And like, it was 8 hours and it was more feeling good chemicals than stress chemicals.
Awesome.
Grateful for knowing about that, and thank you so much.
Well,
because it was, yeah, good.
No, that's great. That's great. I'll definitely share that with her, when we get off the call. But yeah, so there was a little crackle or something. I just wanted you said that you did fly yesterday. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure that that's what you said. It's like, oh yes. So yay for you that worked. And
yeah, because I changed the references I found before, but when I was in the plane, I found out that there were like other references. So when it was kind of difficult and when I was triggered, I played with the superpower state, like, saying conditional love and all the same. And I have to admit that when Odille said to go back to my childhood, I felt a little bit skeptical, because I was like, is that the story? Isn't it the story in my head that I need to change and all this kind of thing? So I just realized, yeah, like the references and that they really come from my childhood, and knowing about the superpower state, and especially when we do not want to feel like this, like, we don't want the stress, we don't want that feeling, we want it to go away, but
yeah.
instead of that, like loving it, for me it was very instructive, because usually I'm having trouble saying to be in unconditional love when I feel triggered or when I'm stressed. So thank you, and it works.
Yay. Awesome. And thanks so much, Sadia, for sharing that, because yeah, it is not intuitive it's not intuitive when we get into those triggered places to get into a state of unconditional love and sending love to that. That is not our intuitive state. Our intuitive state is to run away from it, deny it, get away from, so that's not You know, that's not intuitive. So it is a practice. It is something that we just have to continue to be with and continue to practice. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like any other skill. So yay
Yeah.
you for doing that. And I just wanted to just to reiterate too, that yes, the feelings that we're having in the moment around a trigger, it's like we have made this connection in the moment. It's like, no, this thing right here is causing this feeling right now. But what we have to continue to remind ourselves is that I can't be experiencing this feeling in the moment unless I've had a previous reference for it. Because the thing itself, the outside, the circumstance, in your case, flying, does not have the ability to make me feel anything. You know, so the feeling that I'm the feeling that I'm having in this moment regarding whatever is arising in your life is happening because there is a previous reference that's there. So that's why we continue to take everything back. And what we find in most of the time, most of the cases, things are going to go back to early childhood. The foundation of everything is in early childhood. And when we go back and change those references, then as we move forward, things fall away, or things can transform a lot easier, a lot quicker. So yay, thanks for sharing that. Anything else?
No, no. For now, I do not have a question, but I promised myself that after the 8 hours of flying, I would come back here and say how it went, and it went so great. I had to share that.
Awesome. So thank you, Sadia. That was great. So, all right. Well, if I think that I've been able to kind of keep on top of what's going on here. So, question. Hi, Steve. I'd like to know if you are familiar with the Sylvia method and what your thoughts are about it. Thank you. I would have to say that when I was going through my psychotherapy training, when I was back in that process of getting my master's degree, I know that I was exposed to, and we spent a little time talking about the Sylvia method. I haven't myself been a practitioner or gone through that. But yeah, so I think that the honest answer is I don't have that much information about it. So for me to be able to talk about it, all I can remember is that some people that I had known had kind of done it, and they had some good things to say about it. So that's the best that I can say about it right now. So if anybody has any other experience or thoughts with that, you can feel free to share that. But no, I'm afraid that I don't have any more information about that. So, all right, let's move on to some practice. So if everybody can take a deep breath and close your eyes if you choose to do so, and allow yourself to settle back into that superpower state, that unconditional love feeling. And again, focusing in on your word or phrase or your subject. And see if you can focus in on how you're experiencing that feeling. And if it's not already there, focus in on your heart center, your solar plexus, that center part of your body, and see if you can find that feeling there. Allow it to grow. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, sending that feeling throughout the rest of your body, allowing it to grow and expand out beyond yourself, out beyond that body knowing of yourself, and fill the room around you with that light, that energy, that feeling. And think about one object, one inanimate object in your vicinity. Maybe something that you know is there, something that you're looking at. And imagine surrounding that object with that light, that energy, that love, is just a reminder, another way to practice. A reminder that at a quantum level, we're all the same thing. We're all just energy. And now think about one issue, one person, one situation in your life that feels like there's some level of difficulty around it. And however you do that in your mind's eye, send that love, that light, that energy to that issue, that person, that situation, whatever it is, and just surround, fill up. And whether or not that issue or the person or the difficulty, whatever it is, whether it changes or not, continuing to send that love, that light, shining your light into that darkness. And now let's send that love, that light to Lisa. Filling her up with that love, that light, that energy, allowing it to overflow into that feeling of empathy, that feeling of needing to fix it all. Wherever that comes from, whatever that is, whatever it's connected to, just filling it up with that love, that light. And now, send that love, that light to Sadia. Allowing that love, that light, that energy to overflow into all areas of Sadia's life. All fears, all phobias, whether they change or they don't change. Loving it all. And now the Swasti, sending that love, that light, that energy. And now sending that love, that light to Katrina. To all those little yous that need voice. Sending that love and that light. That encouragement. And now to Ilja. Sending Ilja that love, that light, that energy. Allowing that love, that light, that energy to overflow. And connect with all of our creative imaginations. Allowing us to move beyond the rigidity of forms. And now let's send that love, that light, that energy to everyone off camera today. Allowing that feeling, that love, that light to shine into all the darkness, whatever issues, whatever's there. For those off camera, for those watching the recording, whether the issues change or not, sending that love, that light, that energy. And now find the little you. That little you. And surround them with that love, that light, that security. And imagining that transporting back through the generations to all those little yous, all those little people that were our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, surrounding them all with that love, that light, that security, that love. And now, to the you of the not so distant future, that future you, that you of later today, sending that you, this love, this light, this energy, loving all circumstances, no matter what arises, sending it that love and that light. And again, returning back to that feeling in your heart, your center. And intensify that. Amplify that feeling. Feel that sense of surge. Awesome. All right, everybody, you can open your eyes if you had them closed. All right, so yes, it is the weekend, so we have made it. I know that Odille will be back and joining us on Monday, and keep practicing. Try to give yourself the gift this weekend of practicing being with and allowing whatever's there. Spend some time allowing being with the feeling. So stay with the practice, keep up the good work, and we'll see everybody again on Monday. Bye for now.